Welcome to the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Pluff. Each week, we will cover various topics that dads struggle with in their fitness journey. I'll give you actionable steps that you can apply right away, not only to take back control of your own health, but so you're able to be a better example for your kids too. So one of the things I've always found fascinating when it comes to nutrition and fitness is when you try and change what you're doing, something inevitably always goes wrong. And I think there's a couple of reasons for this. One, because when you try and do something new, when you try and make changes, one, you're breaking the status quo. You're doing something out of the ordinary, and your body maybe it's your ego is really kind of pushing against that. You don't like being uncomfortable. And so a lot of times when people start to work out, if they haven't done so in a while or they haven't ever done it before, they'll eventually get sick or they'll get injured or they'll go out of town and get really off track and then not know how to get back on track. And it's pretty common, and it's almost like clockwork. Every time I have a client, every single time when I work with somebody, something always will derail them within the first month or two. And so when I start a client, I always kind of, that first month is really kind of a feeler, especially those first 1 to 2 weeks. We're trying to figure out how this is going to fit into your schedule and how we're going to make it work. Everybody thinks they have less time than they really have. And then when we're overly optimistic, most people also think they have more time. And so we got to kind of find that happy medium there. How can you fit this into your life? How can you stay with this, not just for 12 weeks, not just for 12 months, but ideally for 12 years, for a very long time. Obviously, as you get older, you're going to have to change things around. Your kids get busier. You're going to have to move stuff around. When your kids move out of the house, you're probably going to have a lot more time to go to the gym. And so you just kind of have to roll with all that. But getting uncomfortable is going to be part of it. John Acuff has a saying. He says, feeling uncomfortable is just a sign that my old comfort zone is having a hard time keeping up with me. And I really like that statement there. Feeling uncomfortable is just a sign that my old comfort zone is having a hard time keeping up with me. Because when you're trying to grow, when you're trying to make changes, it's going to be uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. It's unfamiliar territory. It's like starting a new job. That first month or two, you're very uncomfortable. You're out of place. You don't know anybody. You don't have a routine. But once you settle in, it's just like anything else you do. It just becomes natural, becomes a habit. The same thing goes with exercise. I hired a coach for myself recently, and those first couple weeks were a little clunky. I was doing things that I hadn't really done before. Some of them I had never done before, and it took me a while to kind of get into a groove. Now I'm 2 months in, and it's just something I do. It's just another thing that I'm able to follow. It's another thing that I add to the schedule, and I don't think twice about it. Same thing goes with nutrition. If you've been, if you've kind of gone through a cycle of, you're in maintenance and now you're trying to lose a bit of weight, you're in maintenance, you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, then you've done this before and it's probably not as hard. But the first time you did that, the first time you tried to lose weight or you tried a new diet or something, it's really clunky. It's very uncomfortable. And so, in order to kind of prevent that, you really got to plan ahead. You really got to plan ahead. Kind of look down the road. What's going to happen? Look at your next week or two. What's going to possibly derail you? And what's your contingency plan for that? When this happens, I'm going to do this. When I can't make it to the gym for an hour, I'm going to use my resistance bands at home and work out for 10 minutes. When I wake up and I slept a little later than I want to, I'm going to do 10 minutes of stretching or go outside and do a 10-minute walk. Always have a plan, because things are going to derail you and you're going to feel uncomfortable at times, and that's part of the process. But a lot of the times when you are uncomfortable, and actually I'm going to say all the time, the majority of the time, when you are uncomfortable doing something, that's probably exactly what you need to be doing. If you don't like public speaking, you have a fear of public speaking, you should probably practice some public speaking. And so you can get over that fear and so you can grow. If your child, your son, your daughter had a fear of doing something, you wouldn't tell them to avoid it. You would lean into that, figure out why. Why are they struggling with this? The same thing goes for you. If you're not great at meal prep, lean into that. Get a little better at it. You're not great at tracking your calories. Lean into that. Spend some time improving that skill because that's what it is. That's what fitness is. That's what nutrition is. These are skills. Nobody's born with these skills. Nobody was just waking up doing weighted pull-ups one day, right? They had to learn that skill. And so all these things you can learn. Nobody is more special than you. You can do if somebody else has done it, that should be encouraging to you. There's a pathway out there for you to succeed. But a lot of times we look at things and think, "Oh, I'm no good at that. I've never been great at this, or I'm not good at this. I don't exercise. I'm not the person that goes to the gym." You're right. You're not, because you tell yourself you're not, right? And so you kind of have to change, that voice in your head. You're already playing from behind. You're uncomfortable because it's something new, but you're not even giving yourself a chance if you're not kind of leaning into that and improving those skills. So being uncomfortable is just part of it. Anytime you're growing, anytime you want to improve in your marriage, with your kids, your relationship, and your job, and your fitness, and your nutrition, you're going to be uncomfortable. But those are the times where sometimes instead of turning it off, having an off and on switch, dial it back a little bit, slow down, lean into that, learn what you can. If you're learning a new movement in the gym, break it down. Have somebody watch your form, film yourself, and then send it to somebody who knows what to look for there. So ask for help. But when you're uncomfortable, that's not a reason to give up. That's a reason to kind of slow down, reevaluate the situation, and understand that this is the exact thing that's going to propel you forward. That concludes this episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Thank you for those of you who took time out of your busy schedules to listen. If you have any questions or comments or an idea for a topic for a future episode, please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to hear from you.